The Shadow is a strange and haunting card, reminiscent of many attributes of Western magic and mystery tradition. At the top of the card, our kanji character is Kage, which can mean shadow or silhouette, and yet also phantom in Japanese. This card is one steeped in the psychology of the subconscious, as seen in its ability to control shadows, and when it steals the shadows of the students in episode 2 of the anime, one can clearly see a relation to the unseen mind and the shadow self. Psychologist Carl Jung devoted a lot of research into this aspect of our mind, theorizing that as we put out personas or public faces to meet the world and assimilate into it, we repress various aspects of our consciousness, which become regaled to an unseen shadow self, buried deep in the annals of our minds. This archetype is the darker side of the human psyche. It's one concerned with wildness, chaos, and mystery. Much of this side of us remains unexplored, not helped by New Age gurus who speak of looking for the light and suppressing the ego, unaware that they are tipping the scales far too far to one side. In true occultism, it is the joining of opposites and the integration of all forms of experience which results in enlightenment. And so far from repressing or stealing away the shadow, the true seeker should embrace and explore it. The figure on the shadow card is veiled and mysterious, with no visible hands or arms, and yet somehow suggesting a sign, perhaps of prayer, or perhaps the esoteric sign of silence, suggesting the hiding of secrets. This is further evident by the void of which appears behind the veil, appearing somewhat like the night sky or the mists of time. Upon the cloak, one can see 10 folds appearing at the space where the opening to this world is placed. And if one is to imagine that these are circular in shape, one would be half visible, the other half obscured by the void. These could be the 10 Sephiroth of the Tree of Life, together taken to represent everything in existence, or the aspects of God which govern and bring forth all of creation. They link with what is above them, the infinite and unimaginable nature of creation, with what is below them, the finite, physical creation, the place of which we exist right now. In this case, the opening of the Shadow's cloak is inviting one to drink of this mystery, to peer behind the veil and glimpse at the workings of the universe beyond. In this regard, it is similar to the Flammarion engraving of where the seeker breaks through the firmament and sees a universe on the other side with mechanisms and workings and laws completely different to those of which exist within his bubble underneath the firmament. In this regard, the image of the shadow is similar to the cloaked hermit as seen on Aleister Crowley's Thoth Lover's card, of where he is shrouded to signify that the mysteries of life are hidden and far beyond the visible eye and intellect. He too makes a sign directed at the observer, this one the sign of the Enterer, offering out the intelligence of the universe so that we may learn from it, a sign of which is also used as a blessing in rituals. It is also similar in principle to the symbolism of the High Priestess in the Rider-Waite Tarot, of whom keeps her scroll partially hidden behind her cloak. The word on her scroll is Torah, which is often thought to be the Hebrew Bible, and yet simply means instruction, teaching, or law. These laws of the universe are, however, hidden from the eye, behind her veil. Some may also see this haunting image in the card as a figure of which reminds them of the Grim Reaper, or a personified death, a symbol of which came into its present form during the Middle Ages, as seen in images such as the Danse Macabre, in which skeletons dance and play with the living. It was not always so. with spirits of death being very different in the distant past. Angels of death were a popular image, such as beautiful Valkyries in Norse mythology, or the handsome figure of Thanatos in ancient Greece. In these images, death is not frightful and terrible, but gentle and guiding of a soul from one world into the next. The Reaper, on the other hand, is Father Time, synonymous with Kronos, Saturn, the harvester of time and memory, robed in the fashion of the funerary garb of monks and priests, of which, interestingly, here were always white in the traditional ceremonies, and not the more popular black image. To see the shadow as a reaper is to see the lengthening of the shadow of the day, a reminder to gather your rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a-flying, and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. In other words, this shadow is to remind us of our mortality, and to seize the day of which we now live within, for we are destined to cross that veil into the unseen void of which lies beyond, in some hitherto unknown future. In the Clow Card hierarchy, the shadow is under the light, because light is needed to cast a shadow in the first place. Here we see another moulding of opposites, the true balance of the scales, which is lost with one-sided religious or philosophical thoughts. The fact that this card needs its polar opposite, and is therefore bound to it, speaks volumes of this symbology. To draw this card is to look beyond that cloak and into the shadow self of your own consciousness. It's to accept and cherish the mysteries of the cosmos, to find and face the source of fear and overcome it, just as when the card is later transformed in the story, it helps to find a lost friend. This card is a message, which can help you to find the lost, hiding behind the veil of the shadow.